then falsely accused me of cheating with my friend to shift the blame. So I divorced her and dated the girl she accused me of cheating with. Now she married her affair, who is abusing our 5-year-old son while threatening to kill me. Title may be confusing, so let me explain. I have never cheated in my life. I think it is one of the most vile and disgusting things you can do to a person. However, my ex-wife cheated on me consistently. I took her back each and every time because we had 2 kids together, and I believed she would change. I know, I am a dumbass. Moving on. 3 years ago, while we were still married, I worked beside this woman named Kay. We were only work friends. We never flirted or even added each other on social media. I only interacted with her at work, and that was it. One of the times my ex-wife was cheating, she accused me of cheating on her with Kay. I didn't know my ex was cheating at the time, so I thought it was coming out of left field and didn't make any sense. But she swore up and down that me and Kay had a thing together. We did not, and of course my ex was accusing me because she was the one cheating and not me. However, I am a funny individual and can make almost anyone I meet laugh. I have always been that way. My ex-wife would claim that anytime I made a woman laugh, then I was flirting. After all, that is how me and her started talking, because I could make her laugh. But again, that is just who I am, and I don't consider it flirting. And I was even surprised when my ex-wife showed interest, because I was just being myself. Anyway, fast forward 3 years, and I finally grew some balls and threw my cheating wife out. And we are in the final stages of divorce. Just have a stupid 2-month waiting period, and then freedom. The other night Kay popped up on my Facebook's People You May Know section, so I added her. And that brought back the memory of the fight I had with my ex-wife. I said F it, shot her a message, and sure enough, 3 years ago, Kay had a crush on me, but never acted on it because I was married. Kay is now single. I am now single, so we're going on a date this weekend. My ex-wife is flipping her effing lid, going batch T, and saying that I was cheating on her too. That I am a hypocrite. And she knew I was cheating back then. And I am too big of a pussycat to admit it, because I want to still look like the good guy who was so mistreated. Again, I never cheated, but am I wrong for going out with Kay? Update. Some of you all wanted an update after I went on the date with Kay, so here goes. I actually just got home from the date about an hour ago, and it was magical, to say the least. We went and got some food at a local Mexican restaurant, and just sat there talking for probably 2 hours about anything and everything. We went for a walk at one of our town's local events afterwards, and we didn't even have a path where we were going, because we were just talking the entire time, and getting lost in real life and in conversation. I didn't want to take her home afterwards, so I used the lame excuse to get ice cream. And same thing, we sat there just talking and learning about each other. We were connecting on so many things, and my ex-wife never talked to me like Kay did tonight. Even when me and my ex-wife started dating, we never did this. I went to take Kay home, and again, she just sat in my truck as we were parked in her driveway and just talked again for what felt like forever. I finally had to tell her that she needed to go inside because she was getting sleepy. So I walked her to her door, and I was being a gentleman because I didn't want to take advantage of a woman who was exhausted. So I just told her I had a great time, and I hope she did too. I went to head back to my truck, and she stopped me, pulled me in, and kissed me for what felt like forever. It was one hell of a kiss. I left afterwards, and I had a text from her before I made it home, wondering when our next date was. I understand why my ex-wife was jealous 3 years ago, because there is definitely something between us. Something I was blind to because I was married. But I should have left my cheating ex-wife sooner. Oh well, it seems like me and Kay are together now, so that's all that matters. Thank you all for your kind words. Update in AITA. AITA for not taking advantage of a severely intoxicated woman. So I am new to dating after my most recent divorce. So maybe I am old on certain things, but I am not sure. I matched with this girl on Facebook dating, and she actually lived local, so we started talking and seemed to hit it off. We met up on Halloween at a party, but she said she had bad social anxiety. So she stayed with her group of friends the majority of the night and came around me when she was drunk enough to have the courage to. I was okay with this as I am not a pushy guy and I completely understand social anxiety. The only reason I was confident and having fun at the party was because I was dressed up as Michael Myers. So no one knew who I was unless I took the mask off. So she eventually hangs out with me at the party, and we seem to hit it off. The night ends, and I walk her to her friend's car as she was too drunk to drive. And we hug goodbye as I was not comfortable kissing her since she was pretty drunk. We continued to talk until this past weekend, when we met up at a bar. She had her group of friends with her, and I had just come from Friendsgiving where we smoked. So I was pretty high, but still aware of what was going on. I decided this time around to stay with her group of friends, so that way we could spend more time together. Even if we were sitting in silence due to her anxiety, at least she knew I was still there with her, which she told me she appreciated because most guys get fed up and don't understand social anxiety. Anyways, I get there and can tell she is already pretty buzzed. Her friends tell me that she has been nervous about seeing me all day, and then she brings 3 shots over to our table. I assumed one was for me and one of her friends until she did all 3 shots back to back. She proceeds to get dog's tea drunk, and while I am still a little high, so I don't mind, I begin to notice that she keeps disappearing. I ask one of her friends where she went, and her friend tells me that she is tore up that I am there, and she can't get the courage to talk to me, so she keeps doing shots until she has the liquid courage. Now I am nothing special and have no ego, but I tell the friend that someone shouldn't have to be plastered to talk to me, and it was just best I go home. The girl I was talking to hears and stumbles over to help walk me to my truck. I had to basically pack this woman to my vehicle as she almost fell down twice. I open my truck door, and she begins to beg me not to leave. I explain that I need to go, and that I am just not having fun. She then tries to climb into my driver's seat, so that I can't leave and I have to stay until the bar closes. I casually put my arm in front of her to block her from getting into my truck, and I quickly get into the driver's seat. She then won't let me close the driver door and continues to beg me not to leave. I explain that I have kids that I get back early in the morning. It is a long drive, and every excuse I could come up with to just get out of there. But she wouldn't listen. Finally, I try to close the door with her standing there anyways, and she stops the door from closing, and I shtu, not slurs out. I want to ride you like the bull that you are. In that moment, I immediately messaged her friends and told them to come and get her, and told her that I was not doing anything like that with her being that drunk. She responds, "I am not drunk. I will remember all of this tomorrow, and I won't regret anything." I still tell her no, and her friends finally show up to get her away from me. They apologize for her being so drunk and begin to pull her away when she yells, "Hug." And Bear hugs me while planting a slobbery, wet kiss on me that would make a Saint Bernard proud. The past few days have been hell, TBH. She has messaged me, telling me what a prick I am for leaving, and how I missed out on a sure thing. Her friends have apparently switched sides and said I was an arsehole for not taking her up on my offer, because it took her a lot of courage to come on to me. All my guy friends say I am a pussycat for not sticking her, and even my dad tells me I should have hit that. I don't know, maybe I am a different breed of guy, but I was always told it was saw to take advantage of someone who is SHT-faced. Plus, I had a feeling with her anxiety and self-esteem issues that if we had done anything while she was that drunk, then it would have made her problems worse. Maybe I am just an update in r/legal advice. Ex-wife constantly starts fights. Not sure what to do here, but I'll try to keep this short. I recently got divorced in July of last year, and it was an ugly divorce. We were together for 8 years, and she cheated on me the entire time and emotionally and physically abused me. Thankfully, I finally had enough and threw her out. We had an uncontested divorce. I became primary custodian with kids with 50-50 custody and got our home in the divorce. Whenever we went through the divorce, instead of speaking with the attorney that we had originally started with, she hired another attorney to communicate through email changes she wanted made to the divorce whenever she could have just told the attorney we were working with what she wanted changed, and we would have agreed. This basically caused our attorney fees to go up, because the original attorney was going to cut us a deal since we were working with him only. But since she contacted another attorney, he increased his fees. She's now dating a woman, and while I have no issue with it, the woman she is dating is a recovering drug addict with multiple charges against her in the past, and the woman she is seeing doesn't even have full custody of her own kids. I had to get a no-contact order against the woman she is seeing, because the woman threatened to physically harm me and hire someone to delete me. It's been a mess. I have moved on, and I'm currently seeing a woman that is absolutely amazing. However, my ex-wife is constantly starting problems. At least once or twice a week, she blows up my phone with messages trying to start a fight about any number of things. I have informed her to stop texting me unless it was about the kids, and now she changes to where she is only starting fights about the kids. I have text messages saved where she says she refuses to co-parent, and anytime there is any communication between us about the kids, she always starts a fight. Most recently, my oldest got sick, and I called into work and took him to the doctor. My youngest wasn't showing any symptoms, so I didn't have him tested. My oldest tested positive for strep throat, and so they gave him some antibiotics. Yesterday was her day to have the kids, and I hadn't heard from her 45 minutes after the time she was supposed to pick them up. So I texted her and asked where she was. And she completely blows up and tells me that I'm a bad father because I'm wanting to dump the kids on her. Whenever every weekend she has them, she dumps them at her parents' house so she doesn't have to deal with them. Then today my youngest started showing symptoms, and she started a fight with me randomly, saying I should have had him tested whenever he wasn't symptomatic yesterday, so I didn't have him tested. If he has a strep throat, then the antibiotics for one kid would obviously work on the other. Is there anything I can do to make it so she can only contact me about the kids and be civil about it? At this point, it feels like harassment, but I have to stay in contact with her because of the kids. Unfortunately, I can't take full custody of the kids due to my work schedule, because I won't be able to pick them up after daycare and school, so I need her whether I like it or not. TLDR had an ugly divorce with a cheating ex-wife. Her new woman has threatened to kill me, and now she constantly starts fights with me, and I just want to be left alone, unless it's something civil about the kids. Update. 5-year-old reports domestic abuse. So I have 50-50 custody with my ex-wife. We have 2 boys. One is almost 3 and the other is 5. My 5-year-old came home the other day with a black eye and said his stepbrother hit him. He also had 3 bruises on his arm, and he said his mother grabbed him. He says she always yells at him, and that his mom and new stepmother always argue. This morning I get them back, and my 5-year-old tells me that his mom and stepmother got into a fight in the car. That his stepmother called his mom a W, so his mom hit her and caused her to bleed. He then said his stepmother hit her back until she bled. Basically, there's now domestic abuse going on in my ex-wife's home. In our divorce agreement, I am the primary custodian, and they live with me. She just gets them 3 days a week. Wondering what I should do since I do have pictures of the bruises. But it's my 5-year-old telling me these things, so I know it could be biased or viewed as coaching whenever he brought it up and told me. I have a stepdaughter that is in counseling, and her counselor said that if she said anything to her, then she would report it to CPS. So I know if he was saying these things to anyone else besides his father, then a case would be opened. Second story. Faikni left me due to my cancer. Then I caught her sleeping with a guy the same day, which ruined her house sale. The purchase of another forced her to be homeless, and now her affair partner dumped her. She is in a wheelchair, begging me to reconcile, so I just threw the same breakup line back at her. She used at me and went NC. This has been 4 years ago, so the sting is gone and my revenge has been had. Sorry if this isn't the right forum. We dated for 4 years and had what I thought was a great relationship. We were both well-established professionals who both owned homes in the same neighborhood and both had daughters in the home. Her daughter was 11, and mine was 16 when we met. We had actually planned to get married, build a house, and raise the 2 together. We planned the house build because she had recently been diagnosed with a neurological disease that would eventually put her in a wheelchair and needed something AITA-friendly. During the planning stages, I began doing landscape and construction projects on her home to increase the resale value. All in all, I invested roughly $30,000 into the home, running everything through my side construction business for tax, permitting, and resale purposes. We had a contract that payment would be made upon the sale of the home. I produced invoices for each and every project, but never pushed for payment because of the prior agreement. Fast forward 6 months. We're looking at property to develop and finalizing drawings on the home when I began feeling ill. I couldn't eat, constantly vomiting and passing blood. I began noticing that my abdomen looked swollen, which was odd because we were both very clean eaters and were in the gym every day. So I went to the doctor and began having tests done. During this time, she began having small cognitive issues, and the stress of her current position was exacerbating her condition. So she took a $20,000 per annum cut in pay along with a lesser position inside the company. After a month or so of different tests and a biopsy, it came back that I had a golf ball-sized tumor in my stomach and would need to begin chemotherapy. So I began chemo and radiation treatments, which made me, expectedly so, extremely ill. She was spending time helping around my place on the weekends and staying over more, to the point that they were both at my home, more than theirs. At this point, I suggested that we go ahead and put one of our houses on the market and move in together until the new house was built. I have great supplemental insurance as well as a long-term illness plan, so using that coupled with the sale of one of our houses would push us through comfortably and help ease the financial stress on her. Shortly after this discussion, she became extremely distant. Her daughter wasn't coming down and hanging out with mine anymore. She had excuses for not getting together. She quit driving me to treatments and stopped staying over. She then dropped a bomb. A sentence that will forever be burned into my psyche. I love you, but I can't see myself taking care of someone this sick in the long term. And I don't think we should see each other any longer. In a text. It broke me. I won't lie. This was the first woman I had ever opened up to and planned a life with since my wife died when my children were 1 and 3. However, I tried to be mature about it. I forced myself to understand her position and to accept what I could not change. I calmly, the next day, gathered all of her things, packed them neatly, loaded them in my truck, and took them to her house to leave on the back porch while she was at work, in order to avoid any awkward exchanges. Walking around the back and under the porch cover, I sat down a box and saw her in her back living room on the couch, having sex with a man that she had introduced to me as a lifelong friend. I had dinner and drinks with this man and his girlfriend. We had gone on vacation with them as well. I never spoke of the incident with her and simply sent her a text later, explaining that I would leave her things on my side porch to pick up at her convenience. I discovered 8 or 9 months later from his now ex-girlfriend that they had broken up due to him confessing that he had been sleeping with my cell, dating back to about the time we were finishing drawings on the new home. Now I'm pissed. Revenge time. At this point, I had finished chemotherapy and radiation for the time being and was feeling healthier. I was going through some much neglected paperwork when I ran across the file that contained $2,680 in unpaid, long overdue invoices, which were promptly sent to my attorney to begin lien proceedings on the home. It turns out that I couldn't have done this a moment too soon because she was set to put her house on the market. Coupled with interest over the course of what was then 19 months overdue, the invoices were hefty. That, along with the agreement of settling them when the house was sold and attorney fees, left her with roughly $10,000 after the sale of the home and settling her current mortgage. She promptly had to back out of the purchase of another home and moved in with her oldest daughter, Sil, and 2 grandchildren. She also had to leave her job and begin receiving disability. I ran into her a little over a year ago, and she looked as if she had aged 20 years and was in the wheelchair we had talked about. We chatted cordially but briefly, and I excused myself and went on with my day. A few days later, her younger daughter called me and spoke of my running into her mom, and we could hang out sometime. I gave a vague answer, thanked her for calling, and again, went on with my day. The ex then called me a week or so later, and began apologizing for leaving me as she did. Again, cordial but short. I thanked her for calling and hung up. She began texting, and this went on for several weeks until she asked if I could ever see us rekindling what we had, to which I replied, I can't see myself taking care of someone so sick in the long term. Remember the box on your back porch? Did you think that lifelong friend brought that over to you from my house? Good luck to you. Goodbye. TLDR. My girlfriend broke up with me due to me having cancer, so I ruined the sale of her home, the purchase of another, and left her to have to move in with her daughter. Then threw her breakup line back at her. I sometimes feel guilt over this, but not much, and not often. Third story. Wife cheated on me, used our daughter to hide her affair, blaming her, and manipulated me into believing I'm wrong for accusing her. Now I'm done with her BS after my daughter revealed the truth. Hey Reddit. Throwaway account for obvious reasons. Also, sorry for the length. A ton on my mind right now. Me 52M and my 50F wife have been married for 25 years and are immensely happy. We of course have the normal fights. Me not cleaning the bathroom, arguing about me losing money on sports betting, her spending twice as much at the shops as we agreed to, etc. But overall have a really happy marriage. Until about 8 p.m. yesterday night. Recently, we've been having a bit of trouble in the bedroom. I don't want to derail the post, but basically as X has naturally slowed down between the two of us in the last couple years. This has really bothered my wife, and bothered me a bit also, I will admit. Once we vocalized the problem, we both agreed we're going to take steps to fix some things. We talked to some doctors. Basically all of them wanted to put my wife on some serious medications, which my wife was pretty against. This led to about a year of building what we call RSX drawer, filled with products in the kitchen that my wife has tried and tested, and likes the ingredients of. It's nothing crazy, literally things like vitamin D, zinc, some Lubrisil soft gels, maca stuff that has been tried and tested. Nothing too wild, and all OTC. Now, here's where things start to go downhill. So, my wife naturally takes these products around the times we're going to be getting intimate or try. Now, I don't like to monitor the kitchen drawer, but sometimes I do peek, I know, but I can't help it. About 3-ish weeks ago, I noticed a ton of pills and soft gels were disappearing. Me, thinking I'm about to have a pretty good week, I start to get mentally prepared for it. So, about a week after that, I recheck the drawer, and a ton more of the stuff has been taken. I remember thinking, that's weird. We haven't done anything recently. About a week later, the same thing happened. Tons of pills and soft gels are gone. And I'm not going to lie, I get in my head a bit. Last night, me and my wife were out to dinner. After a couple glasses of wine, I asked my wife why she's been taking so much of the stuff in the SX drawer without trying for any intimacy. I asked coming from an angle of both worry mostly for health and confusion. Immediately my wife gets insanely defensive, blows off the conversation, and tells me she isn't talking about it. This of course makes it where now it's the only thing I want to talk about. And while I respect everyone's, I don't want to talk about this, I think something like this should probably be effing discussed. I press a bit, and for about an hour she's not having this conversation. Basically, it gets to the point where I just blatantly ask my wife if she's seeing other people. My wife, who has never been aggressive or loud, starts basically screaming at me in this Italian restaurant. She tells me my daughter 25F has been having some relationship issues with her boyfriend and has been taking some of the stuff to help. I'm like, why the F didn't you just tell me? She goes on a rant about how some things are girl to girl and how my daughter didn't want her telling anyone. Which I get, but come on, I buy the things to fill the drawer. My wife ends up leaving the restaurant mid-dinner. I've honestly never seen my wife this mad. I'm honestly a bit worried for our marriage. And to top it off, my daughter is acting awkward around me. I get that I stepped out of line with the questioning, but the defensiveness really caught me off guard, and I would have assumed my daughter using our stuff would have been discussed, and I wouldn't have actually cared and would have bought more stuff. Anytime I try to talk to my wife, she makes it seem like I'm an insane out-of-control monster, that I've broken the trust in our marriage, and that I've ruined 25 years of progress we've made together. Reddit, am I crazy? I'm beyond confused right now. Edit. 4 hours since I posted. Wow, a lot of incredible information in here. Thank you to everyone for your comments. This post has made me feel better and has allowed me to think about other aspects of our marriage. I've seen a ton of requests for info, so let me try to answer some of the questions here. Me and my wife didn't go to the doctor for only libido issues. I don't know the general age of Reddit, but as you get older, things like menopause and other hormonal issues become a reality, just the way of life. I didn't plan on questioning my wife at the dinner. It had been in the back of my head, and after a few glasses of wine, I handled the situation poorly, which I 100% agree with all of you. Not the right time or place. Though we've had tough conversations before in public, still doesn't justify it. Calling it as X drawer may have been a bad name, but it's just how we reference it. We didn't really think too deeply when coming up with the name, and I don't know actually which one of us created it. I don't have a good reason why it's in the kitchen, but we're kind of past the age of caring about what someone may or may not see in our home. I wasn't monitoring the SX drawer. The Lubricil soft gels, which we keep out of the box, come only in a 30-pill supply. Half the pack or so missing. I didn't count is very obvious even at a quick glance. And for why I didn't automatically assume my daughter the soft gels mentioned above, and some of the other stuff in there are for a specific thing outside of the vitamins. While I don't know the ingredients too intimately, you wouldn't really expect those things to be shared. And finally, for those mentioning that my wife is still actually hiding something, I appreciate your comments, and it has given me a ton to think about. While I won't jump to those types of conclusions, I do agree that there is probably more that needs to be discussed between me, my wife, and my daughter. AITA has no consensus bot. OP received mixed reactions. Relevant comment. Particular _ title 42. NTA. I am a little suspicious. Missing stuff requires explanation. I'm also a little curious why you keep as X stuff in a kitchen drawer where just anybody trying to help in your kitchen would have access to them. That's the kind of stuff you keep in a medicine cabinet. OP. It's basically a drawer of vitamins. Even if guests found it, I doubt they'd actually know what it was. I think that's just where we ended up stuffing things as time went on. I don't know if either of us really wanted it. They're more than where we just ended up putting things. Top comment. Inefficient frog. Are there parts of this story missing? It feels like there's something missing. Why did you choose to bring this up at a restaurant? Was it to try to avoid the yelling? Did you plan on it being a fight from the start? Get your wife's side of the story and post it. We crave the drama. Update. Hey again, Reddit. Here is an update from the Reddit post that I posted about 5 days ago. As for the update, I wish I had better news. After reading through the post and all the DMs everyone sent, thank you all for those, I was a bit overwhelmed and a bit confused. So I decided to just relax and really not try to jump to any conclusions through the weekend. Many of the points that were brought up did broaden my perspective, and some of the ones assuming infidelity, I won't lie, did get to me a bit, and I was running pretty high anxiety-wise. Realize that, at this point, me, my wife, and my daughter still aren't talking. Our home has suddenly become one of the most lonely, isolating, and awkward places in the world. Sunday night, while watching some basketball, I basically just thought to myself, I can't go on like this. So, I went and talked to my daughter. I approached the conversation with, you can talk to me about anything. And if you and your boyfriend were having sexual issues, I would be glad to buy you guys more stuff. My daughter just starts to seemingly break down to an almost uncontrollable sob. I'll be honest, I thought at this point she was going to inform me of some serious medical issues or something. Once she calmed down, she basically says that she's taken some of the vitamin D and zinc before, but has never taken any of the Lubrisil or black cohosh. I look at her with that, do you realize what that may mean kind of look? And we just hugged and cried together. I've spoken to some of my friends who have gone through similar things and have gotten advice from lawyering up and divorcing my wife right away to marriage counseling and fighting for the 25 years we've been together. At the moment, I'm not going to do anything. Need a bit more time to think. Need to talk to my wife and really find out what's going on. This is probably the last update from me, as when I first came to Reddit, this was just a silly fight between me and my wife. Now it's progressed to a place that it's feeling a bit too private for me to share, and the above update was a bit tougher to write. Thank you again for all your comments and perspective. You all have helped me see something that I was blind or refusing to see. John. Top comments. Chef Kimberly. Those 2 supplements aren't as X supplements. They are for menopause. Your wife may just be embarrassed that she has started menopause. She may be fearful that you will no longer find her desirable because she has started menopause. Step back a bit before you jump off that high board. 5am creature. There is the possibility that your wife needs the supplements for her own general comfort. I'm not at menopausal age. However, I do have medical conditions that can cause vaginal dryness, and it can range from uncomfortable to actually painful. It's personal and can be a very touchy subject. Not to mention the mood swings that come with menopause. Not saying cheating is completely out of the question, just saying there are other possibilities.